Collins Orono live from Nairobi, Kenya. We welcome our viewers in Kenya and across the world to The Punch, a show that takes a vivid look at issues impacting lives around politics, education and technology. But first, let's have the news headlines. Kenyans have continued lamenting on the new social media laws put in place by the Film Classification Board on YouTube licensing. It's everything on standby as this year's World Cup kicks off in June 2018 in Russia. Pope Francis has called on the world's youth to continue speaking out and standing up for their rights. And today in our show, we are focusing on young people's involvement in political change across the world. But first, the national poll by Harvard Kennedy School's Institute of Politics placed the first 100 days of current US President Donald Trump's administration at 32% in terms of job performance. A survey dubbed Generation What, conducted by European Broadcasting Union involving 13 European countries in 2016, indicated that majority of young people will join the uprising movement against the government. We have also seen some political changes in many countries across the world, including South Africa, Ethiopia, Brazil, Zimbabwe, and recently Kenya. On social media, Davis says youths speak out against corruption. Let's now have a feature from our correspondent Faith Kaulu.
According to the Kenya Survey report conducted by the Aga Khan University, Kenya is a youthful country. Majority of Kenya's young people are estimated to be 19 years old, and about 80% of Kenya's population is below 35 years old. Well, with that in mind, the East African Institute of the Aga Khan University commissioned a survey to understand the values, attitudes, concerns, and aspirations of this critical segment of the population. The survey found that in terms of political participation, Kenyan youths have positive views about politics and democracy. The survey further found that 90% believe it is important to vote, while 70% believe that they have the power to make a difference. However, 62% of the youth are vulnerable to electoral bribery, with 40% saying they would only vote for a candidate who bribed them. Now, compared to the urban counterparts, rural males were twice as likely to vote for the candidate who bribed them. Similarly, 40% more rural women compared to urban women would vote for the candidate who bribed them. Now, 40% of Kenyan young people trust politicians, while 65% trust the government. The most trusted institution is the family with 94%, followed by religious organizations at 86%. On the other hand, only 52% of the youth had knowledge of government initiatives for youths, while 76% of the youths reported that they have not benefited from government-initiated youth programs.
Now we are being joined by our correspondent Faith Kaulu from the ground. Faith, could you tell us something about the situation on the ground regarding the story that just aired?
Well, Collins, thank you very much for such an opportunity. Well, while I was compiling this report, I got a chance to interact with many of the young people in our country and just get to hear from them and what their opinion and views are in concern to this matter. Well, most of the people agree that they are passionate about talking concerning this matter, but they only do it online, that is using the social media platforms that we have, Facebook, and mostly Twitter. But in terms of acting upon it, in case if people call for a demonstration, they do not show up because matters of security are raised there. As we can see, some say they're still in school, so they can't attend such demonstrations to fight for political justice or for what they stand for.
Is it true that many young people know the issues affecting them, but they are not just ready to speak out?
Well, Collins Orono, I'm not quite sure if I can get your question clearly, but I'll answer as best as I can. As I said earlier, most young people are actually engaging themselves in politics in terms of speaking openly about it on the social media platforms. And the social media platform that is leading currently is Twitter, where we know people rally topics and issues they want to stand for using hashtags that really trend and are very popular in these times that we are living giving in. As I said earlier, people are not willing to act upon such issues. Maybe in case a demonstration is called upon, when people have to go and stand against something they believe should not be implemented, or something a politician did and is not right, only few young people show up. And as I talk to most of them, this is because some of them are afraid of security issues. As we have seen before, people have lost their lives in such cases. People have been hospitalized because they have engaged with police brutality and certain things that happen on the field, while others also still say that they are in school and still can't participate in such things. Well, in terms of the youth in our country, we see that they really would love to have a chance, but they're not willing to keep our politicians in check. They're not willing to stand up for accountability and demand for certain things from politicians.
Thank you so much, Faith Kaulu, for your insight on this matter. That was our correspondent, Faith Kaulu, joining us live from Nairobi, Kenya, on the feature that just aired right now. On Twitter, Francis says, youths are trying so much, but they are not yet there. Mostly, they are influenced by giant politicians. Youths must speak their mind, whatever it costs. Now we are being joined by Nerima Wako, CEO, Siasa Place, a youth organization in Kenya. Nerima Wako, welcome to our program. To begin with, you have a lot of passion for young people. What drives you to have that connection with young people in Kenya?
Thank you for that question, Collins. Basically, I think that a lot of young people, even in Kenya, especially in Kenya, are very creative. A lot of times when you just walk outside your neighborhood or just look around you, you see a lot of young people using creative ways to business or to just interact with friends. They are constantly innovating, and at the same time they have a lot of zeal and energy. And I feel that Kenyan youth are very, very, very brilliant, and a lot of times they just lack opportunity. So I love my engagements with young people.
Now, Nerima, do you think young people in Kenya have contributed to the current political change in the country?
Young people contribute a lot. A lot of times when we look at these political parties, most of their members are youth. And even when you think about when politicians go to have their rallies and campaign rallies in Uhuru Park or in grounds, you will see a majority of them are young people. So the youth of Kenya participate when it comes to politics. Where I've seen their participation lacking, in a sense, is in leadership. Where in these same political parties, you won't find a youth as one of the main leaders in that political party. So that's definitely a challenge for young people. They're not necessarily mentored, they're not necessarily educated or even encouraged to enter politics, and that's a challenge. So a lot of times they do get used, a lot of times they do get abused, and there are no specific channels or avenues where they can have these grievances and collaborate and come together. But more and more we're seeing young people speaking up about these issues and fighting to be a part of the decision-making tables. So we're seeing progress when it comes to young people coming together and synergizing under those efforts.
And now, what is your perspective on young people pushing for change across the world? I think this is a major issue that many young people could not be willing to be involved.
It's a good change to see young people concerned about their countries. A lot of times we've been hearing a lot of apathy, especially when it comes to, like, for instance, young people voting. And we are beginning to see a decline in participation. So when it comes to active participation, and that's what democracy is about when we see these protests, it's basically young people voicing out what they believe the issues of their country is. And so corruption is a major issue for many countries. Even we saw Brazil, where a president was overthrown because of that. And corruption is also a huge issue in Kenya. And that's because right now we're feeling the pinch. The cost of living is increasing, and even in our own country from July, we're going to see food prices go up, we're seeing fuel prices go up. We can hardly afford where we live, rent is too expensive, and also transport. And so you begin to question, why is everything so expensive and I can hardly get a job? When our country is channeling out up to 1 million graduates a year and there's no employment, of course you're going to have people who upset with broken systems. So they start to question, where is money being wasted? Because money is not getting to my pocket. So these questions now lead to mobilization and organization behind those issues. And social media has brought communications to our devices, basically to our hands. So now we're able to see what other young people think, how they feel. And we call them keyboard warriors here at home, where we create hashtags around issues, but those very hashtags are able to bring issues to the limelight. If we think about Kenyatta National Hospital, and that time they were having rape cases, and someone actually saw a post on Facebook, and out of Facebook it was brought to mainstream media, and then we actually saw change occurring with almost immediate effect.
Now let me bring in Mr. Joel King, a young citizen from the United States of America. Joel, I will pose the same question to you. What is your perspective on young people across the globe?
Well, I think the youth have a lot of influence around the world. I think that there is a lot of potential in the creativity and in the ideas of young people, and I think it can be used to affect the world in a very positive way or a negative way, depending on how it is guided.
And now, as a young person, do you think young people do not realize the power they have in pushing for change, or they do?
I think it can stem from the idea that many young people don't realize how much influence that they have or that we have. I think there can be some doubt that might come because of our age or our experience and what we've been told possibly by our people in authority over us, or even people who we respect and honor who are more experienced than us. And I think we limit ourselves sometimes because we don't know as much as we think we should. But I think that is one of the main flaws, and I think we should shift our perspective to think less about what we don't know and think more about what we could know.
Now, Joel, having been in Kenya for at least 8 months, what have you learned about Kenyan young people?
Young people can be very, very, very friendly, and also they can be very creative. I guess this doesn't really change much about where you are, where you're from, or where you go. I think the young people are almost the same. Of course, I can't say that for all young people, but from my experience, they've been very kind. But I think there's a level of curiosity which I think is really good to have.
Let me go back to Nerima. Nerima, why are young people so divided in Kenya? Whenever they try to push for a common agenda, they don't succeed.
The problem is, that's a good question, and the problem is they don't realize that they're being divided. I don't know if you've read Art of War, and basically to conquer is to divide. And a lot of times, even with our engagements with young people in political parties, you will find that the youth wing is always intentionally left to be weak. You will have the youth chair, and in some parties, including Jubilee, you will find that there's more than one youth chair or more than one youth leader. So you'll find there are small caucuses within the same party. It's almost to make them, disenfranchised within. So it's very difficult for them to collaborate together.
Thank you so much, Nerima Wako, for your time, and thank you, Joel King, for your time. Now, to close the conversation today, let me invite Game Gamachu, a young leader from Ethiopia. Game, I will pose the same question to you. The question I just asked Joel King on what will be your a comparison of young people in Kenya and Ethiopia.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, I can compare because at least I've seen here how young people involved in bringing change, and when I compare with my country, the difference we have here between these two countries, here in Kenya there is a democracy, and young people, they can come together. They have the freedom of media. They have a freedom of social media, and they can post anything, and they have that right to bring change, or maybe they can affect the development of this country, leadership of this country, because from what I've heard, and even more than half of Kenyan population young people, so they also have the same potential we have in our country. But the difference from our country, the young people, they don't have the freedom of speech that Kenyans are enjoying, because the media house is monopolized by government. There's no freedom of speech, there's no freedom of media.
And what would be your advice to young people in Africa?
I will tell them not to give up. This is a time for young people to rise up and to be part of positive change. I urge them not to look after any other leaders. So they should be a role model, or they should inspire themselves to see that change, and also they should have they should know that the fate of this continent lies in their hand. So that is, if they should know where they are heading at. So if they don't know, if they don't have a vision, if they don't work toward that vision, and there's no way change will come where they are. But they can bring change, and they can change this world.
Right, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. That was Nerima Wako, CEO, Siasa Place, a youth organization in Kenya. Joel King, a citizen of the United States residing in Kenya, and Game Gamachu, a young leader from Ethiopia. Thank you so much for joining us today in our show. Now let's sample your contributions on social media platforms. Our Twitter handle at Colin Sorono, at The Punch, hashtag The Punch. Kamochi says young people speak, but there is never action on the issues that they raise. On my punch today, youths are the backbone of every country. For a country to grow, young people must actively be involved in the decision making and politics of a country. A country that taps the energy of young people is a healthy nation. It is therefore important for Kenya to take young people seriously and give them the relevant support that they require for us to have a healthy country. Young people must stand up to speak out against all ills hitting our nation. Thank you so much for joining us today in our show. Thank you for your contribution. See you tomorrow, same place, same time. My name is Colin Sorono, and this is The Punch.